All right. Looks like we are in. We'll give it just a second to breathe here. Day after Christmas.
Waiting,
Can you
waiting,
believe
waiting.
it? December. Man, December's just about over.
2020 is about over. That's what I'm.
Hey,
That's what I'm
hey,
looking
we'll,
at.
we'll take it. All right. What's going on, Broncos country? Saturday night, which means it's time for Mile High Insiders. He's Nick Kendell. I'm Luke Patterson. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas to you, Nick. I know we didn't get to talk yesterday. And, sometimes that makes sense, man. You're enjoying time with your family, your friends, if you can. And, yeah, dude, Merry Christmas to you and your family, man.
Yeah, happy holidays. No matter what you celebrate, hopefully everybody stayed safe and got to take advantage of friends, family, and just a little time to breathe. I know it's been a hard year for many people out there, but trying to rewire that brain. It's to instead of think about everything that was different this year or whatnot, just practicing gratitude, everything that you do have
Mm-hmm.
going. So I'm thankful to be here tonight with you and everybody who's
Thanks,
joining
man.
us tonight to talk some Broncos. Obviously, the season has not gone as we had hoped. We were talking, potentially a playoff team. Obviously, Denver's going to finish for the fourth straight year with a losing record, but this team it's got good bones. You'd say about like house flippers, where you see a house that's kind of dilapidated. It needs some work, but it has good bones. There are things here to be excited about. So we're going to get into that today. And obviously, playing the Chargers, this is going to once again be a quarterback conversation, but we'll get there when we get there. But thank you very much, and hope everybody else out there listening has had a good one as well. And also, Buana, hope you had a happy Hanukkah. So
Yeah.
yep, I know you're back there for that. So I want to be all inclusive there. So appreciate you all as well, Buana. I know you're back there.
Yeah, and I talked to John today, and he was able to tell me that him and his family were able to celebrate yesterday and had a very lovely
Awesome.
holiday as well. So, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever your belief is, welcome. And we're grateful for you, like Nick said. So, before we get going, tonight's live stream podcast is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Broncos Country. Gambling is now legal in the state of Colorado, and if you're looking to make watching sports a little bit more interesting, sportsbetting.com is a no-brainer destination. And here's why. There's sharp odds, low juice. They have in-house bookmakers. They're not a third-party provider of odds. There's reduced juice, best prices, hassle-free bonuses with a one-time rollover. And that means the bonus money is yours after you bet it just one time. Now, other sites, they range between 5 and 30 different times, but not at sports betting. You get 24/7 live customer support, always a real person in the US. Here's the kicker. Right now, after you make your first deposit, sportsbetting.com will match up to $750. That's $750 in free bet credits, Nick. $750 for the holidays? Are you kidding me? Right now, the NBA season's also setting to tip off, man. So you're going to get $25 in free bet credits for the NBA. So NBA, NFL, get on over to www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle. That's www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle and capitalize on up to $750 in free bet credits. And that's going to start your 2021 off on the right foot. And
And absolutely. I mean,
speaking,
also, you're talking about making games a little bit more interesting. There's a lot of college football left, and how I'm a psychopath. I'm a draft guy, so like tonight's game, Coastal Carolina versus Liberty, like I'm all in.
yeah,
I have it on in the background. Liberty's already up 7-0. They have a fun quarterback named Malik Willis who has a touchdown already rushing. He's kind of like college version of Lamar Jackson. But there's a lot of games going
ooh,
on in college, and that's another place to go check it out. If you're talking about making a bowl game a little bit more spicy, a little more
yeah,
interesting. I mean, Oklahoma State, Miami coming up. We got
ooh,
Colorado, Texas coming up also. So Wake Forest, Wisconsin.
yeah.
Some of those games, maybe you don't care. Put a little action on it, then you are in.
That's nice, Nick. I like that. We getting some college ball up in the mix because you're right, man. Draft right around the corner, and it might be the off season for some, but for you, it's not. For me, it's not. For Mile High Huddle, it's not. And speaking of that, please be sure to check Nick out at Nick Kendell MHH. Subscribe, like, and share wherever you are watching. I'm Luke Patterson at Luke Patterson LP, and be sure to once again subscribe, like, and share. However you're listening, be sure to leave us a review on whichever platform you choose, and be sure to head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Now, we've got tons of great work on milehighhuddle.com. It seems like we're always scheming up some good articles, Nick, and I guess I want to get into the news of the day. And before I do, just want to clean up just a couple little things real quick. Let y'all know that This podcast is part of Sports Illustrated and the Maven Coalition, brought to you by Overtime Media. And kicking things off right, we've got Muhammad in the house. What's up, Muhammad? Nice to see you. I see you, Charlie Beagle, Richie Rich, Travis Bruley in the house. Kenneth Booker, welcome and happy holidays. William Karn. Man, Nick, it looks like we got a full house tonight, man. I'm excited. I'm grateful for that. Like you said, we've got some college ball coming. And just to start the show off right, we got Stu Meat coming in here with a super chat. Thank you very much for your support, Stu. Happy holidays to you and yours with a 199 super, always showing us that love on the Mile High Insiders. And before we get going, Nick, I guess I just want to kick it off with our topic, right? I know we got some news we got to get to based on inactives, who's playing, who's not playing. A Broncos running back is in the news, a Broncos defensive pass rushers in the news for tomorrow, and we will get to that. But before we do, did you get a chance to listen to what Chris Harris Jr. had to say about Drew Lock?
Yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, Chris Harris Jr. was a guy who was always good for a soundbite with the media. I think some of the people working there in Death Valley do miss him this year because, he intelligent guy, liked to talk, and he'd open up too. So some of those guys, especially those offensive linemen, they never really open up. They have that stoic kind of, we're not talking to the media. But Chris Harris Jr., a guy, he always would be good for a clip. And he was talking about Drew Lock on Wednesday's conference call with the Denver media. And he said, quote, "This year has been more rough for Drew than last year, but he can still get hot and make those throws to tear you apart. You can never sleep on Drew. He just has that turnover issue, which he has to clean up." And, that's a big thing. It's not just Drew Lock with the turnover issue. Obviously, that is the biggest one. But do you know where the Broncos rank this season in turnover differential, Luke?
Are they second to last still behind Dallas?
Turnover differential? They are dead last.
Oh,
and not
that's
only are
32
they dead,
out of 32, man.
It's bad, but not only is it bad, so turnover differential, you can be positive or minus, correct? Either way, because it takes all the ones you've taken away as well as given away. And the Broncos, the second place team, the San Francisco 49ers, who won today. Hey, thank you for kicking behind us in the draft. That's great. They're at a -10. Denver Broncos at a -18. So they're so far away behind the other teams in turnover differential this year. And that's obviously part of the offense is an issue there. The Broncos, let me see, they have total turnovers would be takeaways. They have 12 takeaways on the season, which is terrible, and 30 giveaways. So they're tied for last in giveaways, but because the defense is not taking the ball away as well, it's just a real double kick to the groin, that kind of thing. So they're giving it away at the highest clip in the NFL, but they're not taking it back away as well. So thank God for Justin Simmons. Otherwise, this would be, what would it be, a -22 turnover differential? Horrible.
Yeah. How many picks does Justin have right now on the season?
I think it's 4.
I was going to say 4 or 5. Justin Simmons, Broncos Pro Bowler. Give it up for him, folks. Number 1 in your heart and number 31 on your programs, right? I think I said that backwards, but
number one in my Twitter. Justin Simmons hashtag the Walter Payton Man of the Year. If you guys aren't tweeting that and retweeting that, you should be. But that's what I see in my Twitter account every day. I open it, which is beautiful. I mean, he deserves it. But
that's great, Nick, because it's so cool to see that just flooding your timeline, right? When your news feed and you just see Justin Simmons, Walter Payton Man of the Year, let's get him there. It's so cool to see all the support he's getting because the guy's a gentleman. He's a heck of a player, and I hope he's a Bronco for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'll come down to the cash in the end, and he's going to ask for a $15 million a year contract. He probably deserves that, given the consistencies he's shown the last 2 years, the versatility he has, and because he's an A+ leader on and off the field. So he's going to get that contract. Question is, are the Broncos going to pay him? We'll see. I know a lot of people I see on my Twitter, why hasn't John Elway paid him yet? Well, they literally can't pay him yet. Just because of how the tag works. Right. They have to wait until the offseason. But still, we'll see what happens. He definitely deserves the Richie Rich coming in here. He deserves Walter Payton Man of the Year. $15 million. I mean, that's the thing about contracts where in the NFL, it's not the best guy who gets the biggest contract. It's the next young talent that's scheduled to get paid. Like Dak Prescott, he's probably going to be not close to Patrick Mahomes, but he'll probably get the second highest paid contract in the NFL. Doesn't make him the second best quarterback. He's just next in line to get paid and market resets, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously with the sick little bug going around and the salary cap kind of being an unknown going for next year and going forward. I mean, is it 195 million? Is it 175 million? What does it mean for the years after? They borrowing from their future earnings? We're going to find out, but right now you just don't know. So it'll be interesting, but I thought there was some interesting comments from Chris Harris Jr. He also went on to talk about Justin Herbert as well. We'll get to that in a bit, but I think the big thing is Chris calls it like he sees it. Obviously, a guy likes to talk a lot, doesn't mind spicing things up with a hot take every once in a while, but I don't think it was too hot here. He's saying that Drew Lock does have talent. He can make some throws, and when he gets hot, it's great. When he's out there, he's not overthinking or holding on the ball too long or making a boneheaded read. He can get hot. He can make throws, but a lot of it comes back to the turnover differential. I mean, he's just not taking care of the ball, and it's not just the interceptions, it's the fumbles. And, people will say, we'll point at that Patriots game, well, those interceptions, he should have had 3 more touchdowns. But all that's big reason sample size is so big. All that kind of normalizes the more games you played. Because against the Bills, what do you have? 1 interception, 0 interceptions? Could have had 3 or 4. Dropped a bunch. In the Kansas City game, they dropped some too. So that stuff tends to normalize over more games.
Yeah, well, and one thing that you constantly talk about that I like is context. And you talk about, what could have happened. That's very real. I mean, those were plays that were, dropped. The defender dropped the ball after already picking it off. And those are very realistic scenarios. A few pick sixes in there. And sometimes the football bounces your way, but got a little bit of chiming in coming from Charlie Beagle. What's going on, Charlie? Happy holidays to you and your family. Unless you're like a Rod Woodson level player, that's way too much money for a safety, in reference to 15 mil for Justin Simmons. So it's hard to say. For me right now, but kind of navigating back to Chris Harris Jr. a little bit, the biggest thing I got out of those quotes, Nick, was respect. And that surprised me. I feel like Chris Harris Jr. showed some respect for Drew Lock, and that really took me by surprise. And, I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, this was his chance. I mean, you're exactly right. He's Strap Harris, man. He's got confidence. He's got swag. Talk about dripping in swag. Chris Harris Jr., he's it. And, it's too bad. It's a shame that he's with the Chargers, but you wish him well, obviously not tomorrow. But that was a chance to get some low-hanging fruit with Drew Lock. And he's saying, look, man, the media, I get it. They've been giving this kid a rough go, and, sometimes deservedly so. But, hey, he can also beat you. So we're not sleeping on this guy. So what am I taking from it? He respects Drew Lock. And Drew, don't throw at Strap Harris's side. The guy's already got an attitude and a chip on his shoulder a mile high. I do not need that man in a revenge game getting an interception from Drew Lock.
Yeah, and the Chargers depth chart right now at cornerback is pretty decimated. I mean, they traded Desmond King, who had some issues with them, but Casey Hayward's been dealing with injuries all season. Across from that, it's like Michael Davis and Brandon Facyon. They're bad. So if you can avoid Chris Harris Jr., you should do it. And this game really stacks up to be one where there should be yards and points to be had, because both defenses are pretty decimated. I mean, obviously the best pass rushers on both sides of the ball are going to be out. Joey Bosa is out. Bradley Chubb is out. You also have Phillip Lindsay's out for the season. So that's a big one as well. So, it's that time of year. Also, the Broncos are out. I'm all about, not actively tanking, but it's a lost season. And you have guys who you don't know about that could use some reps. I mean, we didn't have a preseason this year. This should be preseason. You should be out there trying to evaluate guys, getting guys reps, getting guys experience, and use this as kind of a first step, momentum towards once again competing in 2021.
Yeah, well, and before we get to our supers real quick, hang on just a tight. I want to ask you about that because, I agree with you in the sense we talked about carrying momentum into another season. And I think we both agreed that it's tough to really get a good judge on that, considering you're going to have 2 different teams, 2 different sets of circumstances, right? So it's tough to say how much momentum is carried over, but getting youth experience, there's a complete difference there. Wouldn't you say? I mean, getting guys reps on an NFL field is a lot different than just winning out and hoping you're going to start winning again next year, right?
Yeah, and I think also another thing is if you get some guy tape out there, they have something that they're like, well, it's all in theory until you see them on the field. Like people are really, even me somewhat, starting to bank on like, oh man, this Netane Moody guy might be somebody who can get out there. But it's just one game. I mean, if we just, let's say Drew Lock didn't play any other games beside the Carolina game, we might think he's the best quarterback of all time. But, the other games matter. You have to get a bigger sample size. So if you can get guys out there, specifically one like Netane Moody out there, maybe some more depth at cornerback, maybe a Trey Marshall at safety, sitting Kareem Jackson sometimes, getting tape out there, getting them experience to so they can kind of figure out, what do I need to work on? Where are areas that I did not foresee being deficient in practice because, teams target you differently, different types of talents, different rosters. Where did I struggle and how can I get better going into next season where I can be a better football player and give myself a better chance to make a difference on this team? So that's kind of where I come from the specifics of playing younger guys, playing different guys, shuffling things up, getting experience. That way there's some tape out there, where you need to improve. And that's both from the individual player's perspective as well as the roster building perspective.
You're exactly right. We're talking about lack of an offseason. Well, the offseason's coming up, but we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know, it's still, there's a lot in the air right now. And the biggest problem is getting guys on the field. You have an opportunity. Let's not call these meaningless games trash games. They're not. These are critical games for multiple coaches, players, you name it. So I completely agree with you, man. My tip to the cat to you there. So tip to the cat. Get that for your queso. Trying to make sure your cat's feeling better, buddy. Let's get to some supers, John. We got Pabby coming in here, and I want to give Pabby a quick shout out. Everybody go look on my Twitter at Luke Patterson LP, at Nick Kendell MHH, John's Bawannabes, get in there. And Chad Jensen. Pabby has been so kind enough to bless some of our staff with some handmade Broncos country, Denver Broncos blankets, man. And it just shows what huge loving woman Pabby is and how supportive she is to us. Thank you so much. You mean a lot to us. Pabby coming in with a $31 super chat. One thing I don't want to see one thing I don't want to see in tomorrow's game is Drew Lock throwing an interception to CHJ. Man, hope it comes true. I hope her wish comes true as well. We don't need any picks to CHJ, and Pabby coming in with the go Broncos as always. Go Broncos, Pabby. Thank you so much, man. Pabby doesn't want to see that pick. I don't want to see that pick. You don't want to see that pick. The only one that does is CHJ, and I feel like he's hunting. He's hunting for something. He's hunting for some get back. He loved that $2 million I saw in the comment section. Why are we paying him $2 million for nothing? Can't get that deal done. It's history. History is dead. But you know what? There's going to be that revenge factor with Chris Harris Jr. That's just the way he is, man. He's just one of those dogs. He's a dog. He's going to be out there saying, you should have never let me go at 31 years old. I love it, dude. If anything else, it's going to make this game interesting, man.
Yeah, it's a really interesting storyline, but, players come and go. It's business at the end of the day. So he might take it personally, but hopefully the fans don't, and hopefully they have a little bit more perspective than that. If he does get a pick, that'd be for the narrative, but, kind of is what it is. And I'm curious to see just if the Chargers can even generate enough pressure, really, to get that pick. I mean, say what you will about the Broncos offense this year, but Drew Lock's pretty good at avoiding pressure. And also the Broncos offensive line every single week has been playing better and better. Now, if you go to Facebook, you'd still think that the Broncos offensive line is the worst in football based on the comments.
Really?
But really, this line is, just Facebook can be a cesspool when it comes to comments. You just it's kind of like the news articles.
So can Twitter if you want to look at my Twitter. Go look at my Twitter today and you'll get a good sense of it. But no, I agree with you, man. That pass rush, you're exactly right. Because when you get no Bosa, right? You said Bosa's not playing, so
that's on the decline this year. Jerry Tillery has been disappointing. Like Broncos offensive line should be okay, and also we have Richie Rich coming in saying the Broncos interior offensive line is not doing well. Cushionberry has been playing really good football. I think Vic just talked about him this week. Cushionberry has been playing close to league average, I think, since the Dolphins game. He's been improving. Glasgow, when he's healthy, has been okay. And Reisner, I think, has been playing a little bit better as well. And a lot of it has to do with Cushionberry becoming more competent, which I think you had to eat your vegetables this season with Cushionberry to kind of get the better play next year. It's the development phase for him that it's starting to bud, hasn't blossomed yet. Hopefully we can see that next year with Cushionberry. But I think that offensive line, it's playing pretty well. And this Chargers team just, even though they have 2 other first round picks on that defensive line, they don't impress me. I don't think they're going to be able to get much pressure. And if they do, I think it's probably more so on the quarterback inviting pressure, not making the reads quickly enough, rather than the offensive line itself. Maybe outside of right tackle. We'll see about right tackle.
Yeah, right. Well, and help me with this name, because I always butcher this name. They've got their other defensive end out, Nwasu. Is it pronounced Nwasu?
Nwasu from USC. Yep.
Perfect.
He's a little bit more of a hybrid guy where he does rush, but he's also really good dropping back. But he's out as well. So, it's really just Ingram and whoever the heck their interior defensive line can muster. They're pretty
Linville Joseph off the top of my head. That's
run stuffer. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Just a big body guy that's not going to get a lot of rush on you, which is great for Cush. Now, I completely agree with you, man. And I like those debates because look, the interior offensive line, man, they're young. And Dalton Reisner has not played as well as he did his rookie campaign. That's just the way it is. I can't point to a specific reason other than saying, look, he's helping a rookie center. Him and Garrett have they've clicked. Him and Garrett have it going on right now. So I think Dalton was asked to come in as a rookie and in his first 2 years help assist a lot of guys before he can get his NFL career going a little bit too. So I think sometimes you got to give some margin of error there. Now, here's what I'll say about Lloyd Cushenberry. I love the reps that he's getting. He's starting to cut his teeth, just like you said. But I think the Broncos are going to get Cush in the weight room, and they're going to get him stronger. Now you got John coming in here. Coach was asked about something too that was really interesting this last week, talking about, I think it was Troy Rank maybe, that asked, well, what about the possibility of maybe moving Graham Glasgow over to center just so we can get, Moody in at right guard? And Coach was pretty much, hey, we're gonna see. He said, quote, he'll play if we need him to play. We'll see how Graham Glasgow is doing throughout the week. And having the versatility of a Graham Glasgow is nice, but I just don't see the Broncos taking a step backwards to remove Lloyd Cushenberry after he's already gotten so many reps. They gave him the little, the competition with Patrick Morris, if you want to call it that, in training camp. This is Lloyd Cushenberry's job. He's here to stay. I think he's a very intelligent player. I think he's a good guy based off of everything I've heard. So I'm happy with him. You just got to temper those expectations a little bit. I know we were so excited, including me, just a little too much optimism for a rookie center. But LSU, Nick, and we got SEC players on the roster right now. Okay, I'm excited. Give me a break. I'm excited a little bit. Okay.
Man, I'm so much fun. I'm all about tempering expectations and trying to put a little cold water on excitement. But that way you don't get hurt in the end. A little perspective can go a long way in that regard, just guarding yourself. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the offensive line. We got Muhammad Badri coming in with the fist bump and a bootylicious pair there working out, trying to work off some of that lower half there, I guess. But that's nice. Thank you very much, Muhammad.
Yeah, that's like me, man. I'm going to have to start working out. I was in good shape until the holidays came around, lost a bunch of weight and getting a little uncomfortable, man. So I need to get back to it here in 2021, but let's keep it rolling. We got Kenneth Booker coming in here with a super chat 199. Appreciate you so much. Happy holidays to you, Kenneth. Linebacker Xavier Collins. Nick, talk to Kenneth Booker because he's wanting to know if there's a possibility of the Denver Broncos trading back and getting him. I think that's a really good question, Kenneth. Nick, what do you think about Xavier Collins as a early round conversation for the draft, which is obviously in the spring, but Kenneth Booker, our guy, he does his homework.
Yeah, Xavier Collins is really interesting. He is super long and athletic. There's kind of some Tremaine Edmonds, I guess, when you kind of watch him that way, because there is the length and the movement skills.
I like that.
And his body type, you'd think you'd look at him and be like, oh, that guy's he's kind of like an edge player playing linebacker, but he is, I've enjoyed his tape. I will say I am very concerned about his ability coming downhill. Filling in gaps and taking on blockers. He just wants none of that smoke. Now, if you're asking him to go sideline to sideline and chase, or even drop back into coverage, that's some ability there. But when it comes to the physical part of the game, given his size, it's surprising, but he's not good coming downhill. So I think, again, with his tools, that includes not just the athleticism, but the athleticism to size ratio. That matters. If you can have a guy who's fast, I'd rather take the guy who's 10 times bigger and faster, not 10 times, but that does matter. There's kind of a ratio there. I don't know if you know Math Bomb. Does that name mean anything to you? He's Twitter, works for the Lions, or Detroit Lions, writes about the Lions. He did something called RAS, which is relative athletic score. Okay. And that takes into account somebody's size as well as their athletic testing. So a guy who's 6'5", 250 that runs a 4.4 is going to be scored higher than a guy who's 6 foot, 200 that runs a 4.4. So definitely something there to think about. But we'll see what happens. I do like Xavier Collins. We'll have a lot of time to talk draft, but it will be Xavier Collins back into the first round. Maybe. I'm more of a day 2 linebacker kind of guy. That's where you're going to get your best bang for your buck every year.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great question. I appreciate that, Kenneth. Thanks a lot, man. Happy holidays. And hey, John, if we could get that last one back up, that's one I would like to read. I think that's very important. We've got some folks joining us while they're working right now, Nick, and listen to us at your convenience, please. But we got Mark Knapp coming in saying, thank you guys so much. This makes an evening as a nursing home administrator. I look forward to this. And Mark, thank you very much for what you do as your profession and taking care of humanity. We're all going to get there at one point. We've all had loved ones in a situation of being in an assisted living, a nursing home. Everyone has had an experience with that, and can't thank you enough for not only your support, but for what you do as well. Go Broncos. So we can't disappoint. And speaking of not disappointing, know who never disappoints me is our guy Richie Rich. Our guy Richie Rich is awesome because I'm constantly chatting with him all the time, and we're arguing with each other. We're bickering, and Richie Rich and I.
Though. It's never personal. I love that about him. We can disagree.
It's never personal, right? Yeah, hats off to him. Yeah, and he comes out, man, and he comes out swinging, and I absolutely love it. So I got to talk about something that Richie Rich and I were talking about, and it's going to probably bother some Broncos fans. What'd you make of that run last week by Singletary with Justin Simmons? Now, I pushed back with my buddy Nick Ferguson, right? He said Justin Simmons took a bad angle, and I'm like, you're a safety. Of course you're going to say that. Man, I don't know, Nick. Justin Simmons isn't the type of guy to quit, so I don't want to say that he quit on the play, but I was disappointed. What'd you make of the play? What was it, a 58-yard touchdown run by Singletary?
Yeah, it was a bummer. There is no other way to really put it. You can try to break into his psychology on that play, but the defense and the whole team was broken at that point. I think everybody was kind of ready to get off the field, which sucks. But when you are embarrassed like they were in that Bills game, and side point here, God, the dichotomy this season between the haves and the haves not in the NFL. I can't ever remember a season where there have been so obvious good teams versus bad teams. Now, granted, any given Sunday, still you have the Jets losing to the Rams, but still, I feel like Bills an obvious have, and the Broncos an obvious have not when it comes to 2020, and just is what it is. It was bad effort. It was disappointing. It seemed like the whole defense gave up, but I mean, that was a team that, they were out there and they were driving a Ford Pinto versus a Ferrari kind of thing, especially on the defense with the cornerbacks. It's like, you're going to get beat. Like, I don't care if you're the best driver ever. You're probably going to get beat. So that's kind of what it was. It's still definitely disappointing to see them, take a step back, but I'm not going to overanalyze it other than just say disappointing, move on. We're on to the Chargers.
As Bill Belichick would say, right? We're on to the LA Chargers. Here we go. Well, Nick, let's get into something I know you wanted to chat about too, and we'll keep getting into these comments as we go along. I texted you early this morning or early afternoon. I said, "Hey, man, what do you want to do the show on? We've got so many different options. This is before the Philip Lindsay news, before the Bradley Chubb news. What do we want to talk about?" Well, it's the elephant in the room. Drew Lock versus Justin Herbert. Part 2, Drew Lock got the best of Herbert and those Chargers in the first matchup. What are we going to be hearing? We're hearing the comparisons last week, right? Josh Allen, Drew Lock. Well, this week it's Justin Herbert and Drew Lock. What are your initial thoughts or opinions of this soon-to-be matchup here in just under 12 hours?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to talk about is just the overarching theme that drafting a quarterback is an absolute shit show. I mean, I know we're not supposed to cuss on here outside words of the Bible, but there's really no other way to capture it. So like taking a quarterback, it's really unfortunate because you have 1 year where the Bears trade up for Mitchell Trubisky to be the first quarterback off the board. And then number 10 overall, you have the Chiefs moving up from 27 to 10, taking Patrick Mahomes. And I guess the rest is not history yet, but we're on a path for it being history for the Chiefs and that offense. And now you have the Chargers, who took the third quarterback off the board in this draft. And lo and behold, Justin Herbert, don't want to write off Tua Tagovailoa or Joe Burrow totally yet, but right now it looks like Justin Herbert, if there was a redraft right now, he would either go 1 or 2 overall. So Justin Herbert's a small sample size, but it's one of those things that's kind of like the Supreme Court when they there was I can't remember what exact case it was, but they were discussing pornography and they're like, you know what? We can't really define it, but when you know it, you see it. So I think with Justin Herbert, you can see it. He's a dude. He may regress a little bit here and there, but he looks like baby Josh Allen out there. And after what Josh Allen did this week against the Denver Broncos defense, I'm a little nervous for this game. Now, Justin Herbert's not as far along. There's some accuracy issues. Sometimes there's some ticker issues from processing, but the arm talent that he has, the athleticism that he has, it gives you so much margin for error every single play, every single week. And he's easily the rookie of the year. And he looks like a franchise quarterback. So that's a bummer for the Broncos, especially being in a division now with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and a team with no ownership. And, things are kind of starting to stack up. It's a bummer, but, it is what it is. And it kind of comes back in. And nobody was talking about Justin Herbert being a guy like Tua Tagovailoa or Joe Burrow. He was the afterthought where, there was some hype surrounding him, but he's he's a one-read quarterback. He can't throw anything besides 25% of his passes are screens. You know what? He had the mental makeup, he had the heart, and he had the physical makeup, and now he looks like he's going to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL for the next decade. So it sucks. But when you got the tools and you have a team around there that can do it, and especially in today's NFL, I mean, if we're taking anything from the success of Patrick Mahomes, of Josh Allen, of Justin Herbert, those guys with tools. I mean, you kind of let them plot around early on, but if they figure it out, it's special. So, and that's something also people will be like, oh, Drew Lock, he's got these tools. It's not the same conversation. Like for an NFL, he's an NFL quarterback. Yes, of course he has some tools, but he does not have the athleticism or arm talent of a Josh Allen, of a Patrick Mahomes, of a Justin Herbert. So I just want to get that out of the way now. So, it'll be interesting.
I'm gonna clear something up real quick because I completely agree. And listen, that doesn't make Nick a Drew Lock hater. All right, I'm so sick of hearing Drew Lock hater, cover too deep. I'm so sick of hearing all this stuff. I'm just telling you the truth, and Nick's telling you the truth too. Josh Allen, look at the pure size difference between Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Drew Lock. Let's start there. If we want to start at the Underwear Olympics, let's do that. And then we can go through the film and do that also. Because you're exactly right, Nick. Doesn't make you a hater. You're just telling it like it is. They're two different profiles of quarterback. And the dirty little secret in the NFL, it's all about fit. And Justin Herbert, well, their offense, he's fitting right in, and he is their offense. They're working things around him, and they have those tools to do it. Now, I know Hunter Henry's not playing, but when you got guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, you got Austin Eckler back, you're able to start moving those things with Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert doesn't, personality-wise, strike me off the charts. I've heard some rumors in the scouting community. He was kind of an odd duck, no pun intended. Yeah, no pun intended, being from Oregon and stuff like that. But, yeah, you like that? And then you like that. But, when I was at the Shrine Bowl last year, Nick, guys were talking about this kid, man. They're this Oregon kid. They're like, we're not so sure personality-wise, but, man, he has got the tools. We think he can command an offense, so much so that I heard whispers about the Bengals kicking the tires around a little bit on this cat. So he is the real deal, Nick. You are, make no bones about it. You're exactly right. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And that duck, that Oregon duck, man, he's going to give everybody headaches. And Vic Fangio, man, he's in love with Justin Herbert. Won't give Von Miller ever any credit, right? Won't give his guys ever any credit, but he loves Justin Herbert. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's it's a bummer. The Broncos are in a really tough spot, and everybody keeps saying, the Saints game was at rock bottom. Well, looking around the division, a lot of players are going to want to go play in Vegas. They don't have to pay the income tax there. A lot of players, and then now you have Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. They might actually get a fan or two in there, and Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. So it's really stacking up for the Broncos, and maybe in like the NFC East, what Drew Lock has done so far. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be what he is, but what he's done so far might be able to get it done. But in this division, it's what he's shown so far is not good enough. Now, that said, Drew Lock is not a finished product yet. There are tools, there are reasons for optimism, but still, he's got to get better. He's got to protect the football. I mean, God bless. It's not, if it's not interceptions, it's fumbles. So, what can you do? They got to get better there. And we have some super chats coming in here. I want to get to this one real quick. WE coming in, as you mentioned, drafting a quarterback is a crapshoot. And gosh, if that isn't as true as it's ever been, then somebody point me in the right direction, because it seems like it's a crapshoot. So what's stopping us from drafting a quarterback again? Not trying to be a lock hater, but let's keep swinging. And I think this is a conversation that I've been kind of building up on Twitter a little bit. It's really just more about the opportunity cost. I think this Broncos team, I mean, how many people have they lost this year? Right? This is a team that's pretty decimated with injuries. The only team I can think of that's more so decimated with injuries might be the 49ers. And the Broncos are going to be picking, 10 to 15 range. I think that's a pretty safe bet. We'll see. But 10 to 15 would seem about right. And they lost all these people that are still picking there. And you are within range potentially for going up for a quarterback such as a Justin Fields, such as a Trey Lance, such as a Zach Wilson. If you love that guy, go get him. Drew Lock has had 16 games. He'll have 18 games. There are flashes, but it's not consistent enough. And it's about opportunity cost. It's not that we don't believe in Lock. I'd like to keep him and compete and then have talent as a backup. I mean, Brett Rippon, not a backup quarterback. Drew Lock might be a high-end guy that you can flip a year later for draft capital. But if you love Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, I think you have to at least pick up the phone, right? Like, because if you don't have the guy, if you don't know that you have the guy, you have to put in the work to find if there is potentially out there. Because if you can't bank on maybe.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you're in love with a guy, go get him, just like the Chiefs did. And, nobody off the top of their head can remember what the Chiefs gave up to go get their guy, because they got their guy.
do you think there were Panther fans that were like screaming? I know this was pre-Twitter, but 2010 screaming, "Give Jimmy Clausen more time. We don't want Cam Newton. We need to give Jimmy Clausen more time."
Yeah, right. He was appointed the chosen one since high school, right? Before he even got to Notre Dame, Rivals was all over that kid, and it just did not work out in the NFL. And that's saying it nicely. If you're in love with a guy, go get him. I subscribe to the theory that franchise quarterbacks are not developed; they're born. And what they're done with in the NFL in terms of coaching and stuff, that varies. It's all about fit. Some guys are going to find great fit, other guys aren't, and we'll never know. But the NFL is not, and the Broncos are not going to wait around forever on Drew Lock. So I see a lot of these comments. Maybe go get a quarterback. Why not? I agree, but you got to love a guy.
In this class, I think this class is interesting where people are sleeping. I think people are actually sleeping on how good a prospects Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance are, because there's a generational quarterback, this is only the fourth time in history where you've had this level of prospected quarterback. It's been John Elway, it's been Peyton Manning, it's been Andrew Luck, and now it's Trevor Lawrence. That doesn't make the guys underneath them bad. Justin Fields might have gone number one last year. I mean, with the tools he had, I know Joe Burrow had a great season, but Joe Burrow is old for a quarterback. He lacks arm talent. And, Justin Fields has way more tools. Trey Lance might be the best athlete. He's right up there with Josh Allen in terms of athleticism to arm talent. And then you got Zach Wilson, who's been killing it this season. So I'm not saying you have to go up and get a guy, but if Drew Lock, let's say he plays his mean for these 16 games over the next 2 weeks against two craptastic defenses, in the Chargers and the Raiders, you have to at least put in the work. And if a guy fits and you're like, wow, this guy's blowing me away, this guy fits our offense perfectly, then it comes to a conversation of what can we do? What kind of package can we get? Does that package make sense and not mortgage our future for the probability of the hit return? So it's a very nuanced and complicated conversation. I think it's most likely the Broncos bring in an Andy Dalton type of quarterback to raise the floor and kind of push Lock. That's probably the most likely scenario. But again, this is a conversation in hypotheticals that every team needs to have every single year. If you don't have a Patrick Mahomes in house, if you don't have a Baker Mayfield, if you don't have a Justin Herbert, you need to have this conversation. If you're not, quite frankly, the team is letting you down.
And you're just delaying the inevitable, right? You're just pushing it back another year. That's what we're doing. And that's why we're seeing, the first time a team has won a championship and not returned to the playoffs in 5 years. Well, hey, look at the quarterback carousel. Just see that. So you're bringing in these free agents, and you said something I want to bring up. What is likely to happen? And I think that's something that is often misconstrued, because as fans, as analysts, we all have our own opinion on what we want to see happen. And then there's what we think John Elway and the Denver Broncos are going to do. History suggests that they're going to go after another quarterback that's via free agency, right? John prefers to do that. He's a little bit gun shy about the Paxton Lynch first round miss. And guys, Drew Lock's a second rounder. Okay. I would much rather have a second rounder not work out than a first round flame out and bust like Paxton Lynch. And guess what? Drew Lock is salvageable. He is. I think Drew Lock is completely salvageable. I don't know if it's going to be here with the Broncos, but Drew Lock has the talent to play in the NFL. There's no doubt. And he also, I think, Nick, he has the work ethic. This guy wants to get better, and I think he cares. Unlike Paxton Lynch that only cared about Xbox, I think Drew Lock really does care. I can see his frustration. I could see his ups. I could see his lows. To me, his lows have outweighed his ups a lot more lately, and that's a big win in my book, because it's saying, okay, for all the Colin Cowherd dancing around, all that stuff, well, you see him smiling on the sideline now. You see him with his teammates when they're doing well. He's got those tools, and that's the most frustrating aspect, because he's salvageable, Nick.
He is salvageable. There's a lot to like. I really like Drew Lock, the person, as well, which, does that matter? I don't know, but he's got arm talent. He's got enough athleticism to be a guy who can escape. I mean, I think he's got the very floor as far as athleticism that I want for my quarterback. That's why I'm 120% out on Kyle Trask and Mac Jones. I don't give two hoots about their stats. They're pocket quarterbacks, and I don't want them. I don't think that's how you win in today's NFL, at least long term. There's not guys like Brady coming up anymore, because it took Brady to come in a league where they were much more statuesque quarterback to get to this mental side of the game where he can overcome the lack of athletic tools. So I just don't think that guy works in today's NFL. And if he does, I'm not taking him. So we will see what happens there, but it's an interesting conversation. I think most likely I have no issue with it. If the Broncos want to run it back with Drew Lock next year and see what happens and bring in another quarterback to raise the floor of that room, then so be it. But you are sinking or swimming with him at that point. Vic Fangio is as well. John Elway is as well. So again, I just think the Broncos, they'd be, what's the word? They'd be just dishonest with the fan base if they were just like, oh, we're 100% in Drew Lock. We're not even going to look at the likes of Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. I mean, imagine this is the exact same conversation Broncos country was having in 2017 when they didn't even look at, they did look, but the fans wrote off Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes because they already had a first-round picks and Paxton Lynch on the team. He's salvageable. He's got tools. We don't know yet. There's not enough time to know. If you don't know, then you have to do it. You have to look and at least put in the work and maybe go get a guy. That's all it takes. And you have to be honest with yourself to have that conversation and not get mad about it. It's not about luck. It's about the opportunity of you don't know if you have a guy, so you might be able to go get him. It's that simple. Am I frozen or did Luke freeze out? Somebody let me know.
It's okay. Uh-oh. Am I good? Are we good?
It might have been me.
All right. Well, we're good. Before we get back to the Chargers, I just want to say this to you real quick. Wannabes coming in here. Nick and Luke, would you give Lindsay a CHJ bonus as a restricted free agent to make it easier to keep him after the deal? All right. But Wannabes is telling me, look, man, it's not the draft yet. Shut up with all that and let's get back to the news of the day. I appreciate you, John. You got to keep me on task. Go-on, always keeping us checked in. Obviously, the news of the day. Philip Lindsay placed on injured reserve. He's got a knee and a hip that's been bugging him. No surprise for everybody, right? Phil hasn't looked right in a while, Nick. I mean, it's just he hasn't looked right. What's the future look like for Philip Lindsay? Because it's clear the Broncos want to move forward with Melvin Gordon. I mean, don't only watch what they say, watch what they do. And the Melvin Gordon court case, all that stuff, the play amounts of snaps. I know it's cute because they're usually 50-50, but Melvin Gordon's the guy in this offense, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been the guy since the Dolphins game. He's been much more efficient. And, with Lindsay, you're kind of living and dying with the explosive play, and he just has not been able to get away. And also, teams are stacking the box when Lindsay's in there because they don't feel threatened by him as a pass catcher. So it's a bunch of stuff in there. And also, I see a lot of people complaining, well, why aren't they getting Phil the ball in space or running stretches? They haven't been doing that the past few seasons either when he's been good. It's really been much more under center using a fullback and some counters and traps, but it's not like you're seeing him get pitches or anything to get the ball to the outside. It's Lindsay's ability to press the line of scrimmage and then go on the interior where he kind of short and just explodes out of there, where you're seeing him make those big plays. It's not these like roundabout power leads on the outside zone stretches. That's, he's never really done that. So I don't know where this narrative's coming from. Well, it's all Shermer's fault because he just keeps pounding him in the middle. That's what Lindsay had done in the past few years, and it had been working. It had been really kind of interesting because he's such a small back, but he'd been so good in the A gaps. So I don't know. I think it comes back to and I don't want to dehumanize these guys at by any means, but it's kind of this used car philosophy when it comes to running backs, right? Like, why pay a running back money when they're going to be worse than they were? They're at appreciating value every single season. So why pay them more money than what you got on their rookie contract? I just don't get it. Obviously, there are the Alvin Kamaras of the world. There are Derrick Henrys, but far more often, you see Todd Gurley. You see a guy like David Johnson. You see a guy like Zeke Elliott. I don't get it. So coming all back to Philip Lindsay here, it's a bummer. And I know people really love him, but I would just slap the second round tender on him. Maybe even that's a little bit much, but the second round tender on him because this is still a team that should be predicated on the ground game next year if they are going to compete. And with improving offensive linemen, that's good. So they should be, again, more of a rushing first offense. Slap that second round tender on him. Beg somebody to take that. They won't, but beg somebody to take that. And if not, you got him for another year, and you can kind of see where
they won't. No, I mean, if you're missing one guy,
a second round running back.
I know that's high. I know that's high for you. I know it's high for you and I. But look, man, the Chiefs took freaking Clyde Edwards-Helaire and shocked us all. And how's that working for him now? It doesn't really matter that he's hurt, right? Because you got just a loaded offense. We can't have Kansas City problems like everybody else. So that's tough. I don't see someone putting, second round is rich. You're exactly right. But man, I know the Baltimore Ravens love him. They've loved him forever. They're still talking about him. They're watching this very closely. It could be very well be. Let's just be honest. The Broncos got lucky that Philip Lindsay's mom talked him into staying here. That's just it. They got lucky with it. Otherwise, they would have drafted him. Watch what they say, not what they do. I don't think Pat Shurmur's in love with Philip Lindsay. I don't think he's in love with Drew Lock. Just listen to the way he talks about them both. And then listen to the way he talks about Melvin Gordon and everything else. It's just, for me, it's watch what they do, not what they say. And it's a wrap for Philip Lindsay, at least in this season.
And I wish him nothing but the best. And I feel there needs to be the players union. They need to come out and change running back contracts for the CBA, because these guys are coming in and it's the system. I mean, you can blame teams for doing it, but I mean, they're just taking advantage of the system where they're their best when they are rookies. And the Dolphins are the Ravens used a second round pick on J.K. Dobbins last year. I don't think they're going to use a second round pick on Philip Lindsay. So
would you rather have a Philip Lindsay and J.K. Dobbins and a Gus Edwards I mean, dang, see you later, Mark Ingram. It was great while it lasted. Have fun going to the Bills or some other team that's going to use a running back like, Frank Gore. Go to the Jets and work with him.
I don't think it matters for the Ravens. Their offensive line is trash this year. They're bad.
It's tough. You're right there.
And they haven't replaced Marshall Yanda as well. So you could have Saquon Barkley back there. They're still going to have issues because of the offensive line. So I don't know. I'm not using resource, but I'm just so vehemently anti-using premium resources on the running back position, because you find those guys every single year and they're best when they're cheap. So it just makes sense to do that way. I'd like them to change the CBA so that way those guys can get paid sooner, because I feel bad for them. If I had a son, or I had friends that were like, hey, this kid's a really good athlete, don't let him play running back, linebacker, edge rusher, cornerback. Make him become one of those wide receiver running back hybrids types. You can get value there. You're going to play a much longer career. You're going to take less hits. You're going to get paid more. How it's set up right now, it's meant to be exploited, and those guys are exploitable. So,
and you're going to get flags. You're going to get first downs via flag if you're a receiver too, man. I mean, that is so valuable in today's NFL because it's a passing league. You see coaches giving attaboys to receivers that are trying to draw flags just because that's what they're designed to do on some of the plays where they're not able to get the ball. And we've got some comments coming in I'd like to get to. We've got our guy Darab coming in. Running backs don't need to learn. They're a plug and play position. I like that. It's very much plug and play.
Position.
Yes, north,
it's
south.
One position there is no learning curve from the college to the NFL. They are as good as they will be their first year. So people will say, oh, we got this running back. Maybe the system will get better. Maybe the blocking will get better, but they're not going to improve. They are what they are when they come out.
Yeah, tip of the cap there. I like that comment a lot. That's strong. That's a real strong comment. And I think it's I think it's accurate. And so, but on the other side, you're looking at the Chargers, man, and you're looking at Austin Eckler being back, right? And you're looking at the Broncos. I think Deshaun Williams is questionable on the defensive line with a knee. I expect him to play tomorrow. Linebacker Josh Watson will not be playing tomorrow. It's bizarre. Played in 8 games, the last 6 straight. The only reason Josh Watson isn't playing tomorrow is because, well, there's not a single Bronco, knock on wood, on that funny little bug list right now. So there's just not a roster spot for Josh Watson. So Josh Watson isn't going to be in there. But talk about drafting running backs. Well, the Broncos didn't draft this running back. They picked him up as an undrafted free agent this last year. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, they made him the highest paid undrafted free agent. And Levante Bellamy out of, Western Michigan. I actually got to talk with this kid at the Shrine game last year. I liked him a lot. Coaches were liking this kid a lot also. Do you think Levante Bellamy could possibly get a few reps tomorrow, splitting the carries with, It's going to be Melvin Gordon and Royce Freeman?
I think so, because Royce is listed as questionable. I think I
saw that was an illness.
No, okay. I think it's hip. He's limited. He did not participate on Wednesday, limited Thursday, limited Friday, and questionable for the game. So I think we will see Bellamy. I hope he holds on to the football. Talk about the Broncos leading the NFL in giveaways. Now you have Melvin Gordon out there with Levante Bellamy and Drew Lock. Christmas might have come late for the Chargers defense. They're going to be giving gifts away like Santa Claus out there maybe, but we'll see what happens. I mean, anything can happen any given Sunday, but that's football. So it will be interesting to see how they split up those carries. I think honestly, the Broncos will probably just ride Gordon. You're going to see him. I know they've been able to split it a little bit, but I think you're going to see a game where Gordon gets a good amount of carries, and maybe that'll make a difference for somebody's fantasy team out there if they didn't end up going against Brady or Kamara already this week.
That's why I pulled that last one up, man. I was going to say, dude, I know we all had Christmas and stuff like that, but did you see Alvin freaking Kamara? My goodness, man. I had him in one of my leagues. I know nobody cares about your fantasy league. I get it. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, it goes to your point, Nick. These guys have got to do more than just run the ball north and south. You have got to show a little bit more, and you're going to get that cheddar for showing a little bit more also. And Richie Rich coming in with Nick only thinks I push back on Philip Lindsay's pass pro. Running backs improve in the pros. It's a case by case base. It's a case by case basis. Before I let you get in there, I think it's case by case basis, and it's the system, right? Pat Shurmur, and I see in the comments, Pat Shurmur's looking for Saquon Barkley. You bet. And there's only one Saquon Barkley, but I can tell you, if you're comparing Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, it's more realistic with Melvin Gordon. He's a bigger body back. He's got that body, the big height to fall forward. It's what Pat Shurmur wants.
And Mark, you're going to need to expand on the Puka Williams take here. I'm not sure what's going on. Just a little bit more. Oh, and go ahead. There you go. Do you think Chubb gets 10 sacks this year? I don't think Chubb gets 10 sacks this year. I'm honestly hoping that they give him the Raiders game off too, because, I'd rather see Derek Tuska out there and see, hey, maybe this guy is something we can develop. Maybe there's some hybrid edge ability. Get him those reps. We already know Bradley Chubb's excellent. He's one of the leaders in the NFL this season in pat pressures. So there's a lot of value there. So we've seen enough from Chubb this year. I really don't want him to get hurt. Chubb is out for this game. So yeah, Chubb being able to get 10 sacks, probably not happening this year. A bummer, but it's just an individual stat, and he already made the Pro Bowl. So I don't feel too bad for Chubb in that regard.
No, and the Broncos have to protect their investment a little bit, right? Because they got a big decision coming up with the 5th-year option with Bradley Chubb, with those injuries and stuff. You got to protect your investment a little bit. I would not be disappointed. So what does that mean? Just like you said, you're going to see Jeremiah Atachu going against his old team, talking about a revenge game. I don't know. Maybe Jeremiah Atachu, he surprised us occasionally here and there with the Broncos. Maybe he has a decent game, but like you said, you're going to see Derek Tuska. I don't want to see Anthony Chicklow. I'm just not big on the guy at all. Not trying to trash him or anything like that, but there's
so much movement like up here and at the legs for so little movement, like actually rushing the passer. Like
he's trying his hardest, man. He's trying his hardest. They Josie Jewell thinks he's slow. So, it's just one of those, and Josie Jewell, who's improved immensely, so it's just one of those deals, man, where you know what you're getting. I was telling John too, like, as we were texting throughout a game one day, I'm like, dude, anytime Chickalo is in, just watch it go to his side every single time. And they do it. But Derek Tuska, another one of my guys, you're making me feel so good, man. I got to talk to him at the Shrine Bowl too. Broncos go to the Shrine Bowl. Not going to be able to go to the Shrine Bowl this year, man. It was canceled due to that funny little bug, but I will be at the Senior Bowl. So I'm looking forward to that, man. But all my Shrine Bowls, dude, you're a draft guy. I've always subscribed to talent can come from anywhere, Nick. Do you believe that as well?
Yes, but it's more likely to come in the top 100 picks.
Yeah.
There's a good drop off after the top 100, just historically speaking.
A lot of busts too. So
yeah, that's true.
We're going to have to get into that another day because we got our last little segment in, man. So Justin Herbert, Drew Lock, that's the big thing right now. We're talking Philip Lindsay, Bradley Chubb. Let's open it up, Nick. Yeah, how about that, right? Let's open it up to some comments before we get the night finished and wrapped up. And I want to see some scores. I want to know what you guys are looking at with this Chargers game because, man, Broncos country's divided right now. These games don't matter. Let's see reps. The others are saying, man, these games do matter. This is an AFC West divisional matchup. The Broncos and Chargers are tied right now, right? And with overall records. So you don't want to finish last in AFC West. But don't you? Like the difference in the common opponent is huge. The difference in the common opponent is gigantic. You're talking about the difference between you get for last place. You get to play the Jags and the Jets next year, the teams that are going to be picking 1 and 2, versus let's say you finish second place, which is still on the table, and then you're going to end up playing the Colts and it would be the AFC East, so that'd be the Colts and the Dolphins. That's the difference between 4th and 6th. That's Broncos. Even though the Jags are going to get Trevor Lawrence, probably, I would much rather play those two teams next year. I'm so tired of getting boned in the butt when it comes to the strength of schedule. I'm done. Like every year, it's the strength of schedule is terrible for the Broncos. And I just give us a bone, throw us a bone. I don't need to be this horrible season, then finish second in the AFC West again, picking behind the Chargers and the Raiders, and then getting the horrible common opponent for the other teams that finish second place. I'm so tired of that. And that's those two games, the difference. Throw us a bone. I agree. And you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there too because I'm so tired of beating a dead horse. But Dwayne Haskins, really, man? Really?
Idiot.
You can do the Broncos like that and then roll out the Washington football team like that? Man, Roger Goodell, the NFL, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves because I'm telling you right now, if the Broncos had an owner, what happened a few weeks ago would have never happened. But it's a direct indictment on where this franchise is in terms of the NFL. The NFL looks at the Broncos as their whipping boy right now. That's what they are. And it hurts me to say it, but let's be honest, man. The Broncos are not relevant. They have not been relevant in 5 years. How do you get back to that? Nick, it all starts with the quarterback.
I mean, it really does. I think the foundation that's here for a solid team. Defense could use some young up-and-comers to really kind of solidify cornerback position, edge rusher position, maybe linebacker and interior defensive line as well. I saw we had some comments on that guys, don't worry, we're going to get a chance to get to the draft. We're going to have ample time to talk about a lot of these
you guys are driving. You guys are just hitting a great nerve with us, man. Driving us nuts because Nick and I are so eager. Nick's been already in it since the fall. I just started these last couple of weeks. So yeah, we got a busy off season ahead, man. And we promise we won't disappoint, but we got to try to stay on task just a little these last 4 minutes against the Chargers, man. I agree.
Yeah. And I got to get to Kenneth here real quick, just to get on my, soapbox here real quick. When was the last Ohio State quarterback that was good? Guys, this is a super important fact that scouting 101, you scout the name on the back of the jersey, not the decal on the helmet. When Patrick Mahomes was drafted, people were saying that there'd never been a Big 12 quarterback that had even won a playoff game. And now here we are. So it always comes down to that individual player, not where they go to school. And they've seen people are saying that about Tua as well. I mean, there are things to be said about the coaching system and bringing in guys for talent. Yeah, but you got to be able to take away the system from the talent. It's why I'm not buying Mac Jones stock versus a guy like Trevor Lawrence. You know, he's got a great offense around him and talent too. He has a lot of the questions that you have with, you have a lot of the similar questions as Justin Fields as well. I mean, a lot of it is one quick read where the guy's wide open and there's no pressure. You know, like, okay, he plays on a great team surrounded by 5-star athletes. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't put him on the Iowa Hawkeyes despite how much I've written him and asked him to. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, that kind of thing where you're just not going to get it. So you have to be able to evaluate the tools and that individual guy. So name a good Ohio State quarterback. I'm a big fan of Kirk Herbstreit. I think he's a good analyst.
I was going to dog you and say Kirk Herbstreit because it's been that long. And I think I was just reading an article what Kirk Herbstreit's youngest is going to be a walk-on at Ohio State. I think I was reading. Yep. He's got a couple other boys, at Clemson, right?
Yeah. And also, like, there was a thing going on for a long time that the Big Ten hadn't had a first-round quarterback since Kerry Collins in 1995 until Dwayne Haskins was drafted. But then you have Tom Brady and Drew Brees as two of the best quarterbacks of the last 20 years. So, you know, like, comes back to the quarterback is kind of a crapshoot, but still.
I hate that. I hate it. I hate to hear that term, Nick, because there are hits and misses. But dude, you put in hours of work. Don't call it a crapshoot. It's not. You're not just throwing the ball out there, dude. You prepare. I know you do. I've seen it in last year's offseason when I came in halfway through and we got to meet each other and I started working with y'all. But man, it is not. You gotta be okay with making mistakes, and I think that's something we're seeing with John Elway. I know we just got a couple minutes, but John, it is okay to go take another quarterback, man. It's okay if Drew Lock doesn't work out. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. I think that even the best of the best, it's kind of like baseball and being a weatherman, you know, like there's just some level of statistics
unpredictability,
or probability or unpredictability that you just will never know. And you could be the best evaluator in the world. There are just some factors that you can't get. There's a human element. So, we'll see what happens. I do appreciate that you say, put in the work. And I would say I know more than the layman, but there has to be some humbleness there where you have to appreciate that there's a human element and an unpredictability that will always be there no matter what. And that's, you can go back and look at draft takes, not just for me, but for a lot of people going back, just a couple years ago, people like Josh Rosen is going to be an easy quarterback come in. Josh Allen can't make it. Well, here we are today. It's a complete flip. So you have to live and learn and kind of grow from that.
Did you see that guy out there today? Did you see him on the sideline, Josh Rosen, the 49? I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? This is where we're at? You're playing against your old team and you're just sitting there as a bench player, man? I never bought Rosen to begin with. I don't know about you.
I did like Rosen, but that was probably an overcorrection to Paxton Lynch. Monumental failure. So
that's okay. And that's
ability.
okay,
Yep.
Nick. It was a miss, right? We all miss. I missed on guys this last draft, and guess what? I'm gonna miss on more this draft. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So before we get on out of here, guys, we'll have plenty of time to talk a lot more draft stuff. I do love that the comment section is rifled with draft talk right now, which is great. We're going to be here all off season for that, guys. And
Thanks,
your
Mark.
takes are just as valid. I'm here for it. I want to hear what you have to say. But prediction before we get on out of here, I think the Broncos are going to end up losing this game. I think they're just too beaten at the defensive back position. And Justin Herbert, Broncos, let's be honest, they won that game against the Chargers week, whatever it was, but that was a game where, the probability chart said that the Broncos probably shouldn't have won that game. And while you still have to play the full 60 minutes to get there, that was one where things kind of broke the Broncos' way there at the end, and the Chargers kind of did their best Charger impression. I mean, they are the AFC version of the Atlanta Falcons. Just is what it is. Accept it. But I think this is a game that the Chargers will probably end up winning. I think Justin Herbert's hot. I think they're going to be irritated about how the last game finished. I mean, if you remember, there were like punches thrown at the end of that last game. The Chargers are going to be irritated at this game. I think the Chargers end up winning this game. I got the Chargers taking it 20-14.
Yeah. Ooh, I like it. I like it. I think I'll go. I can't remember my score, but as we speak right now, I think I'm going to go with the Chargers. Let's say 31-24. We'll go that way. I think, Coach Lynn is coaching for his job out there with the Chargers right now, man. And it's tough because I don't think the ownership for the Chargers ever quite give the team what they deserve, and the Chargers end up choking the way they always do. So we'll have to find out, man. But if you're watching the game tomorrow, look for improvements. That's what we're looking for, right? You're looking for the good. I'm so tired of talking about the bad. And these guys can do well, Nick. They've got talent. They've got the tools, and let's hope they put it together.
Plenty to look forward to. Garrett Bowles continuing to make strides. The interior offensive line is very young and getting better. You have a lot of young weapons. Maybe we'll see another KJ Hamler bomb this week. Noah Fant's coming off of a really good game after he's been dealing with an injury and also had that stomach bug there for a bit. So plenty to look forward to there. Defense is pretty banged up, but maybe somebody will step up that might end up being a good piece down the line. You never know. That's why we tune into the games. But anyway, guys, we appreciate it. We got to get on out of here. I do have other obligations, family, pets, cooking dinner, blah, blah, blah. But I hope you guys had a very great, safe, happy, fulfilling Thanksgiving. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. We appreciate you tuning in today to the Mile High Insiders. You can find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP. You can find me at Nick Kendell MHH. Add us on Twitter. If we didn't get to your comment here today, guess what? Just add us on Twitter and we will get to it. We love talking football. That's why we're here. Make sure you guys go over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content, as well as the Mile High Huddle community content. We'll be there tomorrow during the game. You can join us there. We'll get to talk some football and react live to the Broncos playing the Chargers. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating if you feel like we earned it. That'd be a great Christmas gift, though. And a comment. Also, guys, on YouTube, best thing you could do for us if you do enjoy this show, like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, and share it on your social media platforms. That helps us a lot. Also, Facebook people listening to Facebook Live, click those thumbs up or laugh react or hard to react, whatever. I'll take it. I'll take whatever you can get. It's Christmas still. It's a time to give, but also I'm here to take. No, I'm just kidding. Doing so is a huge support for us, guys, but for real, that can really help us. It helps the Huddle Up podcast, helps the Dove Valley Deep Divers, helps building the Broncos. Guys, you can follow us on Twitter also at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. We appreciate it. Hope you guys all stayed safe. We really do appreciate you guys. I know that 2020 has been a rough year for a number of people, for a number of factors, but a little bit of normalcy for myself and Luke getting to come here every single Saturday and talk football with you guys. And even if we don't agree, man, bless you all. I mean, we really do appreciate you for that normalcy, just that consistency, and being able to just unplug here and get riled up about something that doesn't matter so much, but matters more than anything in the Denver Broncos. Love you. Stay safe. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.